This is Olympian and Matilda Kylie Ledbrook. I was very fortunate to be able to sit down with the Asian Cup champion to learn more about her career and life as a Matilda ahead of the Women's World Cup. I'm Kieran from Cupset Football, and without further ado, let's get into the interview. So how excited are you to have the Matildas here on home soil for a World Cup? Because you were part of the Asian Cup on home soil, but the World Cup is just another level, isn't it?
Yeah, just a whole new level and one in a lifetime opportunity, and I'm so excited for the girls to be able to play in front of the home crowd. I believe that it's a sellout crowd on the first game, so that would be just overwhelming for the girls, and to get a win would be just amazing. But I'm also excited to take my family there. So my daughter plays, so she's very excited. She's got all the stuff, the jerseys, the balls, the books, and also my other three boys also so excited to see the girls play on home soil. So pretty excited.
Yeah, are you going to be involved in any way during the World Cup?
Yes, as part of the Matildas alumni, there is a couple of functions that we are invited to. We've also got tickets to the first game. I'm going to see the game in Brisbane, and also got a ticket to the grand final. So I thought it's a one in a lifetime opportunity, and I think the Matildas have a really good chance to be there. So I got my ticket nice and early to the grand final, and the Matildas and Football Australia has done a great job in trying to make sure that the alumni are part of this experience, because it's huge for us as well.
Yeah, beautiful. I think that's the one game I don't have a ticket to yet, the final, so I'm still looking later. But I'm really interested to learn about your football story. So how did you become involved with football? Because I know your dad's a big rugby league fan, so were you a soccer fan growing up?
Well, it was all because my older brother, Kevin, obviously, he played soccer. I don't know where that come from. I think on my mum's side prior to that, because my mum played netball. But my older brother played, and apparently I went to a netball game and I cried my eyes out, didn't want to play,
Yep.
Didn't want to watch. Went to a soccer and I was in heaven. So from the age of 5, I started. I played with the boys at Fairfield West, and then I was able to continue to play with the boys up until about 13 with not Western Sydney Warriors, the Wetherill Park Westerners.
Yes, yep.
And then I was actually scouted, and I was playing for Marconi at that time, and New South Wales Institute of Sport, and then was able to obviously represent the country not only in schoolgirls but also for young Matildas before getting into the Athens Olympics. So that all kind of, I guess, was showcased through those kind of grassroots football. So
wow, that's so like a happy accident led to you representing your country. That's unbelievable. What was the process like? Like, how did you first get involved with the national team?
It was just more around, I just played for fun, obviously, through those local clubs, and I was playing PWSA through soccer, through school as well, and I was able to obviously get into some representative teams, and I was able to get my first playing ticket to Darwin for the New South Wales before getting picked in the Australian schoolgirls.
Yep.
So I think when you're in those kind of levels from a school's perspective and a locals, there was a lot of scouts out there, and that opened the opportunity for me to then do rep football back then. I know they've got a lot of SAP programs, and it's a lot bigger now, and I guess for grassroots football. But yeah, I got recognised there and was able to play some rep football, and from that there was some openings in regards to the New South Wales Sapphires, where I tried out, and I was able to get a spot in that, and it kind of just all went from there. So been invited to Young Matildas, and then I got recognised we went to Papua New Guinea, and then I was asked to trial for the Olympic squad, and that's how I was first kind of put into the national team. I thought I was there just to make up numbers and get the experience, and played my little heart out, and it got me a spot in the Athens Olympic Games. And when I received the phone call, I was just like an 18-year-old, first time ever in a I guess training camp, and they said I made the 2004 Olympics. So and then from there it kind of just was a roller coaster event, where I was able to represent some young Matildas at Russia. I was able to go to Adelaide in 2006 with the Matildas for the Asian Cup in 2010. So it was definitely a roller coaster for those, 5 to 6 years.
Being part of the Matilda squad, was that a goal for you, or were you just playing and seeing where it goes?
Well, to be honest, like now everyone knows who the Matildas are, Everyone knows who Sam Kerr is, everyone knows the Australian football team, but back then you never knew. So for me, it was just, I was playing for fun, and then once it started to get more serious and more training, I just enjoyed what I did, and that opened doors for me. So once I actually found out who the Matildas were and the Australian football team, that became my goal. But as from a young age, or even an early teenager, I really didn't know who they were. So I was just playing because I enjoyed it and I loved the sport and I wanted to do well in that sport. So that's kind of how it went for me.
Yeah, and just on that, the Matildas have exploded in popularity and deservedly so, but what do you make of it, like how they've become more mainstream now?
Well, you know what, you talk about that 2010, and I think that was a turning point for women's football. I think we put our name on the world stage, and from then a lot of work went into the development of women's soccer, and it's one of the fastest growing women's sports in the world. And then I just believe that, doing well, and I also put my hand up and say that, Alan Stajic did a lot for the women's sport, Matildas I should say, and, he put us there and he made a name for us, and the likes of Sam Kerr, Ellie Carpenter, and all those big names, Caitlin Ford, etc., have definitely, made Australia be known in the World Cup stage. So, with them playing over in England and in America, like prior to that, you never heard about players. And there was a lot of good players playing overseas, but unfortunately it just wasn't known until we kind of hit that 2010 mark and made a name for ourselves.
You're young, you're playing, and then you get the call for Athens. Was that a goal that you were looking forward to? Was that like out of the blue? And how did you react when you were first chosen to be a part of the Olympic setup? Because it's a huge moment.
Yeah, definitely. I guess after the young Matildas and I got caught up for the training camp, like I said, I thought I was just adding numbers and experience. But then to actually, after there was a game there, and I still remember it was up in Queensland in a training camp, and I was playing in behind the strikers as the number 10 role, and I remember the coach saying to me, all you need to do is get yourself, square of that defensive midfielder and you'll just open up the defence. So that's all I concentrated on, just getting square of them, getting myself facing forward, and played one of the best games of my life. And I remember Amy Duggan now, but used to be an ex-Matilda, she came up to me after the game and she said, you just played your way into the Olympics.
Wow.
And I actually, didn't really believe her. I knew I had a good game, but at the end of the day, I had no pressure on me. Thought I was just there and I was loving it, just being there for the experience. And then I was working, because I was working full-time at McDonald's, and I still am at McDonald's, and I got the phone call and I almost died. I was just frozen and I didn't even know what to do. So I was just like, oh my God, I just made the Olympic squad. And first phone call was obviously to my parents, and they couldn't be happier for me, and I got to where I am today because my mum and my dad took me everywhere I needed to go. It doesn't matter how hard it was, because we had to pay our own way then and fundraise as much as we could. They wanted to make it happen, so they made everything happen for me, and they also came over and supported me when I was over in Greece. So it was just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's part of also why it was so special, I guess, because you had to not only earn your way, through your sporting achievements, but you also had to pay your own way, didn't you? Like, how hard was it to be a part of the national setup as a Matilda in the early days? Yeah,
it was so hard. Like I said, I was working for McDonald's full time, so I came out of high school, worked as my casual job because I was flexible with my training. When I'm training 5-6 days a week, and then on the off, once a month you're either overseas or you're in Canberra, the AIS in camp. So I needed to have a job that was flexible enough, and I was lucky enough to land that as a manager at McDonald's. And yeah, I guess if it was the way it is today, and still I don't think the girls are recognised as much as they should be. Yes, they can earn a living, minimum wage, but in saying that, they deserve so much more, and they could be so much bigger than what they are today if they had that kind of financial support. But yeah, it was very difficult. We did a lot of fundraising. You know, your parents paid a lot for you if you didn't have a job and you're studying. Even for me, being away from work and you still got bills to pay at home, doesn't matter if you're away, you still got bills and stuff if you're trying to, I guess, get ahead of life. So it was definitely very complicated, and I'm so glad the girls are where they are today, but I think they deserve so much more than what they've got at the moment.
If you're Australian, you know who Sam Kerr is, which is just, you know, it's awesome to see. And like you said, she's ripping it up overseas. And, you know, coming back to you, were those experiences available to you, you know, because you never played overseas, right? So was playing overseas an option for you in those early days, or is this kind of a new thing for women's football to have all these avenues and all these leagues to choose from?
Yeah, it was definitely available. Like there was a period of my life where, you know, I got offered in a university to go play over in Baylor University, but I decided myself that it wasn't kind of for me. You know, throughout my soccer career, I believe that the American League was quite strong early days, and then throughout they took a bit of a hit for a couple of years where funds weren't there for them, and then it started to come up again in the later part of my career. So as to the English League, I know that's just been rebuilt. That definitely wasn't on my radar when I was in my career. But definitely there's more and more, like you hear all the Matildas over in Germany, Netherlands, you know, Denmark, etc. So I guess the opportunities were there. Wasn't probably something for me because I was working full time and, you know, kind of had my heart in McDonald's as well as soccer full time. So but it's so much better now for the women, and it makes it all worthwhile when you see people on these high value contracts, because when you start to leave your friends, your family behind for your dream, you definitely want to be rewarded in some way or another.
Well, you did play in the W League. You were a foundation player, weren't you? What was the buzz like around the time with the formation of the W League here in Australia?
So that sort of come in. Well, it started in 2008, and I was definitely a part of that. And I played for Sydney for all of W League up until my last year of career, where I transitioned to the Wanderers.
Western Sydney represent, that's right.
But yeah, I guess that's something that we kind of needed, because we had the New South Wales Sapphires prior to that. Then we kind of had nothing for a couple of years, and then when the W League kind of got injected, it gave you that extra passion as a young player to be able to see something, you know, in your own country and be in your own country and play at a high level. So, you know, it's called the A-League now, and it's so good to see, you know, more and more, I guess, teams come in into the A-League, because one of our bugbear was, you know, we were kind of paying our own way right at the start, and then, you know, we can only have a 10-week tournament as well. It was never like a whole year, or it was never as big as A-League. So that's something that's, I know, getting better. Still not to where we need to be. But the W League, or A-League as we know it now, has definitely come a long way. So we've been getting more and more big name overseas players come and play in our league in the summer, which is good for our sport to make it competitive. You know, it's just unfortunate sometimes that some of our Matildas are going overseas when the W League's on, but at the same time, you know, we need to get where, you know, the English Premier League, German, the American, etc. is. So once we're there, we'll definitely be able to get the likes of, you know, Sam Kerr and Caitlin Ford, Steph Catley, all the way back to the W League. But
and it's good exposure too. Like if it's on free-to-air TV, I think it was on ABC at one point. Like people just flicking, they'll see it and they'll learn the names. They'll become household names, and then when they're in the Matildas, you know, it's that extra exposure for women's football, which you know can only be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, I think it's on Paramount now, but you know, I guess that's what we need. We need the exposure. We need everybody, you know, knowing that it's there, making sure that that's their goal that they want to kind of hit, and you know, there's lots of great clubs out there and great people trying to make good things happen for the Matildas and future Matildas.
Yeah, so you paid your own way to Athens. So you're in Athens. What was the whole Olympic experience like for you?
Yeah, so the Olympic experience was like, I guess, coming in, we missed the opening ceremony only because we were playing the very next day in a different city.
Right, yeah.
But then once we got to the village, it was just, yeah, I've never dreamed of anything like it before. I was like just amazed by just how big it was, and just, you know, touching shoulders with other athletes. Even, you know, we were across the road, or, you know, in a set of units from Ian Thorpe and all the Australian swimmers. We've had like the likes of Peter Brock, etc., like be some of our, I guess, people that kind of directed us where to go when we're in the village. But I guess there was all from competition right from start, and you know, it was when the Euros were on and Greece had just won, so we we actually opened up one of our matches in front of the Greek men. By the second half, the stadium was full, and I've never seen so many people in that stadium. So for me, it was just, oh my God, I can't believe it. It was just surreal. So, and I was able to get on that game too. So, you know, I was able to play against Brazil. That was also surreal, and then in front of that crowd. So, yeah, the Olympic was definitely an eye-opener and something that I just wanted more of, which I continued to play. And, you know, unfortunately didn't get to another Olympics or a World Cup, but definitely loved every minute of it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Did that really cement that, you know, you are good enough to be, you know, part of the Matilda setup, and did that like motivate you more to want to achieve more?
Yeah, definitely. Like, once you kind of experience that and get a taste of that, you just want more and more and more, and that's kind of the competitive nature that I have. I just wanted to be the best that I could be, and when I got the opportunity to be on the park, I really wanted to try and do the best I can. And, you know, you have your ups and downs throughout that process, because, you know, I guess mentally you have to be strong enough to be able to, you know, blank everything out, whether it's the crowds, whether it's putting your own pressure on yourself to play well. Physically, you need to make sure that you're in that kind of frame of mind and frame of, I guess, physical ability to compete. So yeah, I just got a taste of it, and you wanted to just keep going.
Oh, beautiful. So that's 2004. You had a great experience at the Olympics. 2005, I believe, Australia switched from Oceania to Asia.
Correct.
And then 2006, Asian Cup on home soil. What was that like? Did you, because you were part of the youth setup when we were part of Oceania, right?
Yes, correct.
So Asia was your first taste of senior football, I guess, at that level. Was there a sense that, you know, the shift or the jump in quality was going to be there, and how did you prepare for that?
Yeah, so part of our World Cup preparation in the young Matildas before we went to Russia in 2006 was part of that transition into Asia as well. Yeah. So we actually were one of the young Matildas that actually qualified for the World Cup through the Asia one before the Matildas actually got there. So, you know, I remember playing against North Korea, South Korea, and also Japan, which we ended up beating and getting that third place in the Asian Cup to be able to qualify for Russia. And that was a whole new experience too, because we were so used to obviously playing against the likes of like Papua New Guinea and all those Oceania and New Zealand, even though New Zealand's very competitive at the moment. But yeah, that was an eye-opener. And then moving into 2006 into the senior team, like, that was also like difficult, like because they were just so much, they're an upper class. You know, we definitely made our way and we fought through, because never say die Matilda's attitude, but it was definitely an eye-opener that, you know, we're behind the market, and we really need to make sure that we, you know, I guess, work harder as a nation to be able to be better at what we do with football and change the way we kind of play, because they were just like very fast, nimble, skillful, fit. So we had to adjust to that. So, you know, Adelaide in 2006 was definitely, you know, tough, but it definitely set up the standard to where we needed to get to.
Well, I guess it did, because in 2010 you ended up winning the Asian Cup. So what was your mentality going into 2010, knowing, you know, the Matildas got so close in the years prior?
I think we kind of, because we had that couple of years to play against some Asian countries, we were in and out of camp throughout those years, into China, into different kind of countries, to be able to increase our experience level and the way we played. So yeah, I guess we just studied them and we changed some of our kind of game tactics, and in 2010 we were able to snatch the win, and it's through penalties, but it was an amazing feeling, and I was able to get on in that grand final and score a penalty. So my heart was beating through my chest, going, you can't miss, Kylie, you can't miss, Kylie. So when it was in terrible conditions as well, so when that the ball hit the back of the net, it was a sigh of relief. And then when Kai stepped up for that last one and got it in, it was just an amazing feeling. I remember running up and everybody just kind of sliding on the wet, and just couldn't believe that we were Asian champions in 2010.
And you had scored a penalty earlier in the tournament, didn't you? Did that give you confidence going into the penalty shootout?
Well, to be fair, I kind of think that's why the coach put me on. He knew that I was probably confident enough, because with penalties it could go either way, and if you've got the confidence to do it as a coach, you want the person to put your hand up. I believe so. I think that was one of the substitutions, and hence why I got on an extra time. And I was able to slot one away from Vietnam, and it was my first ever goal for the Matildas, and then the second one in the Asian Cup as well. So I was pretty confident, but at the same time, anything could happen in the grand final.
Right. Yeah, and Sam Kerr scored in the final, didn't she? What was it like playing with young Sam Kerr?
Oh, she's still as good as she is now.
Yeah.
Always saw massive potential in Sam. She ripped up, when she went on in the second half, and you could just tell she was about to score. Like every time she touched the ball, she was like somebody that you've never seen before. So I think the future was always bright for her, and she deserves every accolade that she's received, and she's done an amazing job for Matildas.
So the W League's formed, you're winning titles, you're lifting the championship with Sydney FC. Then arguably you, at the peak of your game, you retire. Why did you decide to retire?
Yeah, I think I guess I retired at the end of 2011/2012, and I guess because I wanted to make a career out of myself. I knew that soccer wasn't actually going to be, that final thing that I could, continue to do. So I decided to take the line of becoming more educated and more experienced and step up in the McDonald's world, while still playing W League. But then, I got the opportunity to go run a couple of McDonald's restaurants as a restaurant manager out in Orange, which was a country, and I thought that was more my future because of the setup of Matildas. You can't make a living. I still had to hold a full-time job, own my own house at that time. So a lot of things got in the way, and sort of I chose that avenue. But then I decided to come back in 2016 or 15-16. I had my daughter in 2015, and then I decided I really want my daughter to see me play. So I came back to Sydney FC in the W League, and I had a really good W League and a really good comeback. So I decided to then play another season, and my son was born, so therefore he could see as well. And that's when I chose to join the Wanderers. And then, from then I actually got asked and invited to an Australian camp, because Alan Stajic was the coach at that time and saw that I was playing well and asked me to come into an Australian camp, and I had a decision to make. And, as much as I really wanted to go in, when your daughter and your son's kind of going to you, "Mummy, you're always at work or you're at soccer," it kind of broke my heart, and I knew my heart needed to be with them. I've had my time. And I actually want them to now enjoy my company. So it got to a point where I put my family first, because, I guess I didn't see that Matildas was going to be as big and could be, an end game for me. And still to this day, a lot of the Matildas are studying, so they can have that kind of fallback after their camps and their time with the Matildas when they have to retire. So, it's sad to see that we can't actually make a living out of our sport that we love, but hopefully we can continue to get there.
Yeah, was that quite common amongst, people, women in football, like retiring quite early for financial reasons or family reasons? Was that quite common amongst your fellow peers?
Yeah, I would think that you've got some of your long standers who've got triple digit caps and stuff like that. But they were still obviously saying the same thing, like we really need to, get some financial backing behind us. So I think it could have been a total different, game if some of these people didn't feel that pressure that they had to go study or go make the decision to get a full-time employment and choose their family. But in saying that, that was some time ago, and I know PFA, Football Australia, are definitely working hard to give you the opportunity to have your child with you on all the camps and your partner and financial. So I know it's come a long way, but back then it was difficult and you had to make a choice.
For me personally, as a Wanderers fan, what was it like transitioning from Sydney FC to Wanderers? Because a lot of players do it, but not a lot of players do it straight from one to the other. So what was that like?
You put me on the spot here.
Well, I have to. I'm a Wanderers fan, so I remember when I heard that you signed, I was excited, but I wanted to know. And I know you're a Westie as well. You're from Western Sydney, so but because you're with Sydney FC for so long, was that a hard decision to make?
Oh, it's definitely a difficult decision. But I guess it comes back to my family and being a Westerner myself, to get myself from work to training back to my family. It was easier for me, and, I'm going out. I knew that, I only had a few more years in me before I had to retire altogether. And so I thought I'd take that opportunity to be close to home, experience another club, to add to my kind of career. And I had a great experience at Wanderers, so I had a good coach, I played, it wasn't the best ending for us. I ended up highest goal scorer. I won't tell you how many goals because that's
I remember the one against Victory, that was like from halfway. That was your first goal for the Wanderers, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, Wanderers is a great club as well. So Sydney, obviously I played most of my career with, and it was definitely hard leaving and I felt like a bit of a trader, but at the same time I wanted to experience other clubs before I went out.
And then towards the end of your career, just recently you were with Macarthur Rams, right?
Correct.
And then you bowed out a champion as well. You won the NPL, is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
What was that? And that was on penalties too. So it was kind of like poetic justice almost. Like your biggest accomplishment was via penalties, and then you bow out a champion via penalties too. Was it hard to say goodbye to the game?
Oh, it was definitely an emotional day for me. I've played for Rams pretty much since, before 2011, but ever since I kind of gave up national duties, I have played for them, and they've been an amazing club for me. They always supported me through work, through family, and it's kept the love of the game for me. It was definitely an emotional day, and even more emotional when I missed that penalty. But I know
that's right.
it was the last kick of my career. I missed a penalty, so it just all goes with my story. If anybody knows me, they know there's a lot of commentary and some of the dumb things that I do. But I guess, the girls all put in an amazing effort for me to win that grand final. And and I do miss it, but at the same time I had a great career, and I don't think my body anyway can continue to play. So
well, if you're going to end your career, you're going to end it as a champion. So what a great way to do it.
Yep, agreed.
What a career. Thank you so much to Kylie for sharing her life as a Matilda with us all. And if you enjoyed the content, please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe. And until next time, go the Matildas.